I'm happy to have another young Indian with us. As usual, a smiling face. Right now, we have with us Anubhava Singla. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Anubhava.
Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. I have been following Vidpeds for so long right now, and again, this opportunity means so much. Again, so much to me because the people have seen on these Vidpeds are some people who have really inspired me. So I would try to convey my story in a way that some people, again, the people who want can also try and learn through it if it's possible. So sure, I'll just go ahead. So my name is Anubhava Singla. I'm currently a student pursuing economics honors in the final year, and I'm a part of the University of Delhi ARSD College. For me, economics honors was something that brought in the right amount of economics and mathematics, and it was a very deducive very deducive process in terms of choosing the course, what I really wanted to pursue and why did I really wanted to pursue it. After 12th, I was very clear that I did not want to do anything regarding relating to accounts or anything that related that was that revolved around taxation, etc. So again, economics was something that I used to read, probably macroeconomics was something that I used to read in newspapers and used to always be very fascinated about. And at the same time, some seniors had told me that it involved about 75 or 80% of it mathematics. And again, I am a person who loves mathematics. I've been doing that since the very beginning, and I also chose to do my minor in mathematics eventually. So again, all of these things really persuaded me towards choosing economics honors. And I do think I made the right choice. I'll probably be telling about why did I make this right choice in parts, but long story short, this is going to be the outcome. So for me, the journey started when before even starting my before even starting my degree, I started doing internships. So our batch was the one who started its uh, who started the who started classes a bit late. So usually the classes start in June or July, right? Our
Yes.
classes started in November. So when these classes started in November and we had like 3 or 4 months of leaves and we were just waiting for results, I was I was sure that I really wanted to do something
Mm.
inside economics. I wanted to really pursue a career into economics. And to get a head start, I was sure that I wanted to start doing internships already. So, how do you start, or how do you even begin with internships when you don't have anything on your CV? You try and approach NGOs where you can actually contribute. And this is something that I really had in my mind. And for that, I thought let's approach the top, the biggest NGOs in India. Let's try and understand what goes behind their ideologies, what goes behind their minds. And this is how I landed my very first internship at Kailash Children's Foundation, the one that's run by the Nobel Peace Prize laureate Kailash sir. I worked in the legal department there. And again, even though I'm not someone from legal studies, or I'm not, and I was someone who just cleared class 12. I had no legit experience whatsoever. My experience in Excel, my experience in data analysis was something that really fascinated them, and hence they kept me for a month there. And to be honest, a lot of things that I did completely during my undergraduation was probably formed the complete idea was formed during this internship, because when I started doing that internship, I actually got to know about what really were the grassroots problems, or what the issues that the society was facing. The NGO in itself works for two major purposes. One, protecting children from sexual offenses, and two, protecting children from child labor. I was working with both the tangents. Fortunately, I was also a part of the rescue and rape team. And again, a child who's just 18 being sent on a being sent exactly on ground to actually go ahead and conduct a rescue event, a complete rescue drive. It was something of complete it came as a surprise to me, but again, that complete experience did form an idea in my mind about how I really wanted to work somewhere in the field of social impact. To be honest, everything for me felt like very monotonous eventually towards the end. If I'm doing data analysis, if I'm working with the data, it's eventually gonna feel monotonous. What's not gonna feel monotonous is the way I'm able to impact lives, is the way I'm able to really touch people's life, if I'm able to help anyone and everyone through the work I'm doing. And to be honest, that was the only driving force that I had while I was entering a lot of data of children who had faced sexual offenses, or probably children who were recently rescued when we had our rescue team operations. So again, all of these things did really form some kinds of notions in my mind about how I perceived the world. Again, how I started perceiving the world eventually. But again, this internship did really make a lot of structural sense towards how I perceived my career, and how I actually am going to pursue a career. So after this internship, the course really started, and again, we the very first semester does feel a bit hard, but we had it online, so it really felt like a breeze to us. We were just going there, making friends, and Delhi University in itself is an institution which really throws a lot of opportunities to you. And me being in ARSD did really help because I was given so many things. Probably I went to the debating society. I have been a debater for more than 7 years or 8 years now. I have debated in a majority of my school life, and this is somewhere I also went when I started with my college and my degree.
Hmm.
And at the same time, economic society was something that really fascinated me in its concept, because I never knew that a theoretical or a very again, an activity which is completely related to proper subject or theories can actually be pursued in a very fun or a very interesting way, and through different activities. And that is something that we were trying to do in the economic society. But my idea towards the economic society was different, and that's how I started shaping it in the second year. But coming back to the very first year itself, so again, all of these things did really shape a lot of my um, coming up experiences as well. But again, I had something very clear in my mind. I really wanted to do a master's, which was again a master's in economics, which was from abroad. And again, probably I wanted to do an undergraduation as well, but I was never able to, which meant
Yeah.
that in the very beginning, I wanted to focus on things that were able to drive me towards a graduation, towards a master's, and towards a good application, which I could submit to universities abroad. And think of universities like LSE, think of universities like University of Chicago, to again to be even able to apply. So that's how I started delving into a lot of the things. But uh, again, my experiences started taking shape because I had the simple idea in mind that one, I want to figure out what is going to be my specification that or specialization that I want to do a master's in. But two, uh, again, I really wanted to figure out what economics in itself really entails. Probably what economics has been. Again, there are about 12 or 14 different domains inside economics.
Yes.
It can look like labor economics, it can look like development, it can look like financial economics. All of these fields were very fascinating to me. And to
Mhm.
be honest, I did not want to do a master's in just economics, because probably that's something that everyone does.
Hmm.
And a master's is something that you should do in a specialization. And again, that's something that I wanted to figure out as well. So with these two things in my mind, I started with my second year. And uh, the very first thing that I got to know was how research is so crucial whenever you're applying abroad, or whenever even you're apply or think whenever you're thinking of even going for a master's. undergraduate undergraduate research projects, undergraduate research presentations are something that these application teams really keenly look towards, or even like even professors are looking towards when they're reviewing your application. Whenever professors are what professors are looking towards whenever they're even reviewing your internship applications under them, their RA applications, uh, when they're reviewing their RA applications. So research was something research became the very first goal for me. For me,
Okay.
it was like I really wanted to probably approach a research question, try to find a solution. I had a lot of questions in my mind. I usually have, and try and actually formalize it in a way that I can reach to a conclusion. I can make a credible impact research into the research findings and can actually get it published. So that became the very first goal. But the second goal for me was to actually go ahead and understand field is what is the exact field that I really want to delve into eventually. And for this, I started reading books. I the very first book that I picked was Poor Economics by Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo.
Mhm.
Had an immense impact on me. Probably also because I had done an internship with Kailash Satyarthi sir uh, in child protection, and again, a lot of the part was around development economics, which is why I could relate a lot of the things that were written in the book directly with the exact things that I had actually seen with my eyes. And again, probably that's also where I started figuring out that I wanted to do something in development economics in itself. Again, after this, I usually start again. I did not want to confine myself within just one domain because I've not really experienced a lot of the other ones, right? The very first one that I did was Poor Economics. Eventually, I started moving on to books like Fault Lines by Raghuram Rajan to probably experience and understand the field of financial economics as well. Uh, the book was just amazing, but it did not really impact me as much as Poor Economics did. Eventually, it always came down to a comparison between every book that I read with the very first one that I had read, Poor Economics. And this complete idea of just going through each and every book in different domains, checking if this field really like fascinates me or not, eventually became my idea of doing that hit and trial method to identify if that field really made sense for me. And again, I did see myself going towards the field of sustainability, going towards the field of social impact through economics. And this is where I then decide that I probably want to do a master's which deals a lot around econometric analysis towards development policies, econometric analysis towards sustainable policies. And this is where I start solidifying and bolstering my idea around sure what economics does, what part of economics does make a lot more sense to me. And hence, I do find line. But at the same time, I start with my research paper. And for this, I did not really have a lot of support, or I did not really have a lot of seniors who could really help. Even when I used to approach my professors, they did not really had a lot of their uh, earlier students go through this complete process. So just navigating through the complete process of even writing a research paper became kind of a tough job for me, because I really had to then go on to LinkedIn, find people who had written research papers, get an idea around what, how, and where, everything. Again, because support was not really actively present for me. And this complete process of identifying the right seniors, identifying the right people who could really help me formulate my research ideas into a proper paper, or just professors who could really help me pen down a lot of the things that I had, was a bit uh, was a bit tough. But eventually, I was able to contrive through it, and because of that, I do think a lot of the things that I do give it again. A lot of my personality was also shaped throughout this process. The research field in India is a bit cruel. And when I say cruel, when you for the very first time send a publisher your paper, they'll thrash your paper. For the very first time, they'll say that you've not written anything that's worth publishing. And this complete process, the first 2 years in my college, when I was trying to write a research paper, trying to get it published, was the exact place where I started learning about how the world really worked,
Yeah.
how I could actually really make something out of my college life, and all the things around that. Probably I got to know about how bad my writing skills were. If I had never even thought of writing a research paper, I would have never even started practicing this complete skill of writing effectively, persuading people through my research. And all of these things started coming into play because I started with my research. And I was happy, or I was very, very fortunate to find a senior of mine who was also very interested in writing a research paper. So we co-authored a research paper which
Wonderful.
dealt around how tree plantations, if privatized, could make a lot more impact in India than it's creating right now. And again, it delved into a lot around how the current way of tree plantations, or the current way of implementing tree plantation projects by the government, is very inefficient and leads to very high failure rates. And again, if privatization is introduced into this market, how will it really impact it, and how can we actually reach the 33% goal that India always goes ahead and like confines to, or goes ahead and promises in different international conventions.
Okay,
So
could you point out some of the failures? You say it's
so the
inefficient, and you have written a paper, so you know
yes.
what is the inefficiency and what are the failures. Just a couple of them.
Sure. One, misutilization of funds. Again, this is a very common failure that we usually hear about when we're thinking about if government is able to really implement or really execute the policies that they have developed inside their thinking pad. But at the same time, we don't realize that misutilization of funds also means that these people might have a lot of funds but are not able to actually utilize it in a way that it really leads to the right output. This can look like a, this can, again, Niti Aayog reports show how these departments had extensive funds, but they did not have the know-how or the technology to go ahead and utilize these funds. These funds remained in the bank accounts, and these funds were never put into use. So this this was the simple failure, but two, not interacting a lot with the local personnel in that area. We read about so many cases where tree plantation projects worth crores were implemented, and within the next 3 or 4 months, more than 60 or 70% of the trees died, because the complete idea that they had inside the forestry department was they'll go ahead, they'll plant all these trees, and probably there'll be a team who will manage the complete maintenance, and they'll leave that site after a year or so. But the complete research behind if that area is actually right to plant more trees, what kind of trees should be planted, a lot of that research never gets through. And because of that information gap, because of that research gap present inside the forestry department at this point of time, also created a lot of inconsistencies. But the third part, which really surprised us as well, was around how these tree plantation projects, even if were successful, were usually a bit more politicized. And this politicization also meant that these people who used to plant trees, probably you might have heard about how tree plantation projects like in Haryana, 10 they planted uh, they planted 5 crore trees. In Maharashtra, they planted 1 crore trees within a span of a year. You might have heard about how they are trying to make world records of planting trees. We never hear about the maintenance reports. We never hear about the reports that come out after a year or so, because there are no reports being made, which simply means that monitoring and compiling all these reports to actually show what's the success rate is really missing. And this simple part being missing does not, again, this absence of the simple part means that there's no deterrence for the government to actually go ahead and show if the project was really able to create an impact that they wanted to create. This simply means that to, again, this simply means that even if the project is amazing, sounds amazing in the very first few stages, the the completion of the project only happens, a fruitful completion of the project only happens if majority of the trees are able to sustain, or the usual rates are able to sustain, which can look like 70 to 80%. But that was even not happening. The success rate went down to even 40% in a lot of states. Himachal Pradesh had a complete research paper on it, where a very large, okay, the tree plantation study was conducted, and how, I mean, the authors saw just 40% success rate out of the complete project, which meant that if you're investing 1 crore rupees inside a research, inside a tree plantation project, just 40 lakhs of it is being actually utilized. 60 lakhs of it is going into wind, which is where we brought into our solution. We talked about how land regeneration economy is something that can actually be placed in India directly to remove all these inconsistencies. One, they have amazing research teams. They take up these projects very efficiently. They go ahead and first of all research along with the local personnel to understand what the place looks like, what the areas of regeneration can look like. They don't just plant trees, but they also care about the regeneration of the soil in that area, which means that the trees now have a better success rate. But two, they also ensure that whenever they're planting trees, they're at least monitoring it and like publishing reports for the next 3 or 4 years, till until the forest or the area is able to grow in itself. And the third and the most important thing, there's a success contract, which means that in a contract they'll mention that the success rate for this complete project is going to be 90%, and if it falls below that, they'll take no extra money, but will plant trees again and will not leave the site till until they have ensured 90% of the success rate, which simply cleared out all these inconsistencies. And this is what we try to show through through credible measures in our research paper. And again, I'm very happy to say that we were also able to publish it very recently. The complete process of writing it till the very end of getting it published, presenting it at research paper competitions, research conferences, really took a lot from us. But again, it happened throughout like a period of 1.5 years, but was a very enriching process, and I did learn a lot. I did grow a lot throughout this process.
So yeah, you're right. You started with nothing and you learned it yourself and you've created something. Very proud to hear it, because the college professors don't really know how to help students with this issue, because this is not their job. They have no experience, as you rightly said. Seniors also don't do it. You're one of the few who did it. And so you had to fend for yourself, but in the end, it's come out well. It's come. So congratulations. Okay, let's go on.
Thank you, sir. Again, after this, I really had just one question in my mind, that how can I really make this process simpler for the upcoming batches? I'm a person who really likes to be around people. I'm a very convivial person. And just helping my juniors with a lot of these things was also something that I really catered to from the very beginning. I have been taking training sessions in debates in the debating society as well. I eventually became the vice president as well there. But at the same time, I really wanted to do something. I really wanted to change the direction of my economic society as well. And that is where I start with my research meetings. And this is something that I really like hold very close to my heart. I go onto the internet and try to find how does research really pan out in all these top universities across the world. I come across a document, I'll probably send it to you as well, about how weekly research sessions are conducted at LSE. And this concept of weekly research sessions really fascinates me, because here some PhD students come along with a lot of undergraduate students. And these undergraduate students present their research, whatever they have done within the week, come ahead, present it, and try to ask questions or try to get suggestions from the complete cohort that they are a part of, that is sitting right there. Just meeting every day, meeting every week creates that kind of an implicit pressure in their mind that they really have to continuously work on that project, and getting actual feedback, getting actual perspective changes from this cohort is something that really adds a lot of value to these people's research projects as well. So this is something that I really found very, very fascinating, and I wanted to implement it in my college as well. And this is where I start with taking up the position of head of research for the economics department. And I start with these weekly research sessions. We started with like 2 or 3 people who were interested in research. I uh, Today was the last day of my uh, today was my last day as the head of research, and we had like 40 people inside the research team. The students at this point of time, first years and second years, really have a zeal to research, and this is something that I do hold. Again, I am just repeating myself, but I do hold very close to my heart, because I was not just able to publish a research paper, but I was also able to take a lot of my juniors with me towards this research, towards the complete research experience, and was able to contribute something into their lives. I'm probably gonna stay connected to them a lot, but these weekly research meetings did really help me not just connect with the juniors, but also help them form a complete basis, which took me 2 years to form, uh, and to basically provide them within a matter of few days, so that they don't have to go through uh, all of that hard work that I went through. They have the basic preliminary things served to them, so that they can actually start progressing even further, without having to go through having to go through that complete hard work about how they should find a professor, they should find a senior, they should go ahead and like try to formulate a research paper. What even should they write? What even should they be writing upon? All of those problems was something that I really wanted to address from the very beginning, and I do think that I was able to do that a bit at least. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful. What else?
So this was the very first thing that I was able to.
Okay, I can't hear you clearly anymore.
Yes. Sorry. I thought I was disconnected.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not going to talk. You go
Uh,
ahead. Go ahead with your talk.
sure. Okay. Yes. So this was the very first thing that I was able to contribute while I was in my undergraduate. But again, after this, I wanted to present my research. I am again going back to my research, because that's how I figured out I would have to go through to even apply to the dream university that I had. So again, there are 3 things that really matter a lot. One, if you've done research. Two, if you have presented it at a lot of conferences, if you've talked to a lot of professors, if you've talked to a lot of experts in that field. And three, if you've gotten it published. And again, the second step after writing my research paper was to go ahead and pursue it, to go ahead and talk to professors about it, to go ahead and present it at research competitions and conferences, get reviews on it, and try to improve it whatsoever, which meant that I had to start applying to research conferences. The very first one I did was at Oxford Brook University in the UK. I was able to get my paper accepted into the research conference there on sustainability. It was probably the 18th sustainability conference at the Oxford Brook University, and I was able to present it online there. That was the very first instance for me about how I stepped into the academic realm. But eventually, I started applying to a lot more research competitions, a lot more research conferences, and through my research paper, I was also able to get myself selected as a UN CTAD Youth Fellow at the World Investment Forum that happened last year at Abu Dhabi. That experience, that research conference experience for me is something that I really, really cherish, because at that point of time, I was also able to talk to a lot of professors from Oxford. Paula Konkani ma'am is someone who I met there. I was able to talk to a lot of professors from HEC Montreal. I was able to talk to a lot of professors from NYU. And all of these professors did really contribute a lot to my research findings, really contributed a lot to how I could improve my paper. And again, this experience of meeting everyone in person. I was for the very first time meeting Ralph Foster, sir, the chief economist at WTO. Again, not just talking to him, probably having his contact, but also the idea of just discussing my research with someone so big inside this complete domain was something that I, for the very first time, experienced at these research conferences. And this is where I really stepped into the academic realm, the scholarly realm that I think I would want to be a part of one day. So all of the complete hard work around formulating a research paper did really come into play after I was into these research conferences, trying to trying to really present it at different places. But eventually, all of this really mattered because I was able to get it published at in a research journal, the HRC Journal for Economics and Finance, and along with a lot of policy journals as well, where I was able to send it for as an abridged form through an article. But again, all of these experiences did make a lot of sense because this is where I actually learned about how the complete space works. And this is also the way I thought that I should really go, because this really contributed to my internship journey as well. After the Kailash internship, I really wanted to do a lot more research internships. So my very first research internship after that was with the Indigenous. It was a French firm. It was a French NGO which worked towards providing voice um, to a lot of tribal communities across the world. I worked with in their Indian department, and my major work was again formulating and finding qualitative data and quantitative data to actually publish a lot of actually publish data, complete data sets. And this is something that this is also somewhere I get my first byline. I was able to for the very first time publish my data set, something that I really contributed a lot to. And again, through this internship, I get to know a lot of things about how research works inside a lot of these firms. But eventually, I was able to also work at uh, think tanks. I worked with CPRG, Center for Policy Research and Governance, and these experiences did lead me towards getting an opportunity to work at the Parliament of India, uh, the Lok Sabha Secretariat. And again, a lot of my research capabilities did come to play there. But more than that, my ability to communicate, my ability to really just um, go ahead and present myself in a way that I'm palatable to a lot of people really mattered more when I was inside the parliament, when I was talking to a lot of dignitaries. It was usually at a lot of events when I used to assist a lot of these parliamentarians, a lot of member of parliaments, a lot of member of legislators, probably international dignitaries as well. I was there at the parliament when G20 was happening. So an experience to share would be when we were organizing the P20 conference, the conference which holds all the speakers of different parliaments across the world. And we were able to, again, I was the one who was conversating with the Russian delegation, who was conversating with the Egyptian delegation. And just the ability to have a conversation with them, the ability to assist them in whatever ways they wanted, just the ability to again guide them throughout the complete experience was something that really changed my way of looking towards how things worked inside real life. Again, I was standing so close to these people, I was talking to them, something I would not have ever expected to be a part of my college journey, but really did happen. I was really fortunate to even get this internship in the very first place. So all of these things did formulate a lot of my experiences inside my CV, which I was able to utilize while I was applying for universities abroad. And this is also how I started this is also how I completed my complete journey around how and why I wanted to even even start applying abroad. But the complete process of what you really need to do before you even finalize the idea of if you want to study abroad or you want to study in a master's, because until and unless you know you want to do that specialization, you can't really go ahead and like pursue those applications with a lot of interest. And this is how I actually was able to solidify all of my interests and was able to understand that sure I want to go towards a course which provides me a combination, an amalgamation between development policy and development economics. And again, these courses are very are very small. The colleges that provide a course in development policy are very small. But again, if you're someone who has finally understood that this is where your interest lies, probably you'll really find universities. And this is how I my search for universities, finalizing where I wanted to apply, also happened. So I was able to apply to, I guess, 7 or 8 universities. Probably these are the only universities that had the exact course. I wanted to do something that dealt with development policy, but in a very quantitative sense, so that I could actually utilize a lot of my econometric analysis and evaluative policy understanding that I had in my undergrad. But at the same time, I was learning a lot more about how development actually took place inside the world, how different parts of development really, how different parts of development actually were enacted inside the world, etc., inside the real spaces, etc. And this is how I start finalizing where I want to really go after my undergraduation. And all of these experiences did form a lot of important, again, these experiences did form a lot of the parameters that I was able to explain throughout my application as well. So
Mhm.
yes.
So have you been able to find the place you're going to?
Yes, I was able to get accepted to Columbia, London School of Economics, U Chicago, and Berkeley. And I have finalized Berkeley. So I'm probably going to Berkeley after my undergraduation to pursue development policy.
And you're going to pay for it, or they're going to pay for it? Or what? How is
Uh, it's a public university, so they don't have a lot of scholarships. They did provide me with some, but they do have a very interesting concept of GSI and GSR rules. What they call RA ships and TA ships. So through those RA ships and TA ships, I can not just get paid every month, but also there's a remission that they provide to the complete tuition fee. So I'm gonna get a 40% remission to my tuition fee, but I'm also gonna get paid every month if I pursue an RA-ship role or a TA-ship role. So that's how I'm trying to figure out my finances. But other than that, I'll probably again, after the meager sponsorship that I've gotten, I'll try to. I'm actually trying to approach a lot more sponsors, a lot more scholarships which are privately funded. So there are a lot of scholarships like the JRE Tata Fund, the Narottam Sheikh Sarai
it?
scholarship, the KC Mahindra scholarship. So I've applied for these scholarships as well. I'm trying to figure out my finances as we speak today. But at the same time, I'm just very excited about the idea of pursuing a master's in the very field that I have been working towards for the past 3 years. So yes.
Wow, I must say it's a very fascinating and I'm sure awe-inspiring journey that you have taken. Pretty much flying on your own. You created your own plane and now you're flying it. It's quite a fascinating story. So congratulations and well done. Getting into Berkeley is no joke. Okay, it's very tough. And as you said, Columbia, LSE, these are all very, very difficult places to get admitted into. Did you do the GRE also by any chance?
Yes, I did the GRE.
Yeah.
My maths is obviously better, so I was able to score better there. Verbal is somewhere was not able to probably do a lot of things. So yes, my score eventually was somewhere around 320. So that
What does it mean in percentile?
Oh, it's so the maths percentile was 90 percentile plus. So I was able to score 169 out of 170. For the verbal part, I gave 2 attempts. So the first attempt I gave was a 154 out of 170. The second attempt was a 151 out of 170. So again, my verbal is where I lacked, even though I was able to do good with the IELTS. GRE verbal was something that I really, really faced a lot of issues, but probably because they don't really judge Indians on their verbal skills in GRE, I was able to get through a lot of these universities.
Okay, fine, wonderful. Anything else you want to add?
Probably, actually, no. I just want everyone to know that even if a lot of, again, I just wanted everyone to know that uh, when I entered ARSD, a lot of people told me about how the college is not really great in reputation, in its reputation across the Delhi University circuit. Probably it lacks a lot of opportunities that people get in top colleges or in top universities across India, I don't think that is something that should create any hindrance to you. It's about how you make it out of the complete institution. If I was able to find the right opportunities for myself, uh, I don't think ARSD was ever a hindrance. I don't think any college or any institution can ever be a hindrance if you have the clarity of thought of what you really want to pursue. Professors everywhere are just very, very helpful. It's just that you need to ask directed questions. It's about how you try to get value out of the same place that probably everyone feels does not have any value. So at the end, my suggestion to everyone is that even if you are in the worst possible situation, I do think, again, this is a quote that I also love: the sky is the darkest before dawn. So I don't think there's anything that can really stop you. If I wanted to pursue development, if I wanted to pursue a master's abroad, I don't think ARSD not having anyone who has gone for a master's abroad is something that really created a hindrance for me. I was still able to get my acceptances. So if I am able to do it, probably there are people, all of all of the ones who are watching it, they're probably better than me. They can definitely do way bigger wonders than this. So yes.
Okay, Anubhava, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to listen to such a hardworking, ambitious, motivated young Indian. Always a pleasure. You just validated my entire rationale for this channel, which was that there are too many young Indians who are hardworking, motivated, ambitious, and they never get a chance to speak. So I'm going to give the chance to speak. You just validated this idea, which I had sitting here in the US and not being in India 50 years. But I had this idea that this is the case, and you just validated it. So you said, who cares? I was in which college? It's me who's good. I can do it. It's not a question of whether I'm good. I can do it. And that is exactly what I thought the young Indians are like. And I knew what they're like. But the society doesn't give them a chance to speak and chance to support them also. Even as you said, there was not much support. You had to do it yourself. Okay, so I'm happy that you validated my basic rationale for this channel, and that is that, look, we need to give our young people a chance to speak. Okay, so thank you so much. Let's end it here. And once you are in the US, keep in touch with me. Okay.
Definitely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank
Okay.
you
All
so much.
right. Let's end it here, and we'll say bye to the viewers. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Bye, everybody.